Good evening. We are calling our EDC board meeting for November 14th at 6 p.m. to order. Roger Brooks is going to be kindly enough to do our invocation for us. And the American flag, Mike Buckley won't mind doing, will you, Mike? And Mr. McWaters, the Texas flag. Mr. Brooks.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. Pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, a quick reminder, green means off. Green means off. So if you don't want the public hearing you breathe or say things under your breath, make sure that we understand green means off. That being said, I'll start on my very far left, your very far right. We have our newest member, the awesome Tanya Clark. And to her right is our treasurer, and on every board in the city nowadays, Chuck Thompson. And to his right is our director of community development. How do you like that? There you go. There's always a first. Emilio Lavario. To my right is our city council member and our EDC vice president, Brent McWaters. To his right is our great banker, Michelle Wyatt. And of course, the infamous and famous Mike Buckley. And I did get questioned this past week on you make sure and introduce everybody, and you never say anything about you. So I'm John Williams. I'm the one got stuck with the president position because no one else wanted it. No, I'm joking. Number one. Number two, I'm still debating on.
Asking for public comments. They have to be separate. If he expressed some views during their board member comments.
Public comments is any person with the ED. Good. Any person with EDC-related business may speak to the board in compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. The EDC board may not discuss or vote on any matter raised in public comments unless it is specifically on the agenda. Speakers may address the board after being recognized by the presiding officer, and public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Cynthia Karovic is going to come up and introduce herself and speak to us real quick.
Hello, board. So thank you all for having us here tonight. I'm Cece Karovic. This is Regina Ballmer.
Is that mic on, Cece?
I sway.
Touch it, make sure it's, okay.
We are here on behalf of the Cleveland ISD Education Foundation. The Education Foundation is a nonprofit organization that provides teacher grants and vocational student scholarships within Cleveland ISD. The Education Foundation started in September of 2010 with an initial donation from the City of Cleveland of $2,000 and the EDC for $10,000. Throughout the years, with help of the EDC, the Education Foundation was able to fully fund our CTE programs like health services, welding, construction, and culinary arts. The EDC has also donated funds for vocational student scholarships and teacher grants. The Education Foundation has provided over $100,000 in grants, teacher grants, and scholarships within Cleveland ISD since 2010. For the past 4 or 5 years, the EDC has not supported us. So I'm here today to call you out. Just kidding. We're actually here to ask your support, and please consider adding us, the Education Foundation, to your next agenda, where we can show you what all the Education Foundation has done with your support and show you what our goals are for the future with your help. We just want to move forward with your support. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we probably want to put that on the next agenda. I'm assuming everybody's in agreement with that, huh? Mike? Yep. Tanya? Let's go ahead and do that correctly, and let's make a motion on it in a second to add. Let's do it as Cleveland Education Foundation to our December agenda. Do I got a motion? I got Mike Buckley that made a motion to add Cleveland Education Foundation to our December agenda. Do I have a second? I have a second by Michelle Wyatt. Any other comments, questions, concerns, gripes, complaints? All good? All in favor to add Cleveland Education Foundation to our December agenda? Motion passes 6-0. Yes, ma'am. I'm sure we have a bunch of questions after the way you presented that to us. Smart. Number 3 is going to be new business spotlight. And the reason I put this on new business spotlight is because from now on, I think, well, we're going to discuss that in just a minute too, but the chamber we're so active with the chamber and working with them, and they're wanting to give us updates consistently now. So what I think we need to do is probably put them on the agenda for the future to where we can ask questions. And so today what we did is put it in the new business spotlight to where we can actually interact and ask questions instead of the public comments, if that makes sense. That makes sense? Everybody good with that? Yeah. Carrie Duggar is the current president with the chamber. Who's coming up? All of you? Or Camille? Anyone? Yeah, all of you? Regina, if you don't know it, I know that she came up with Cece, but Regina is also a very active member, sits on the board of the chamber also. Carrie.
Okay, well, I thank y'all for letting us come and do this every month. We're going to try to have a representative from the board here every month too, and we're going to have an agenda when we're better prepared, but this is what I got today. So first I want to talk about our past event that we just had last Saturday. It was Rock and Ride. It was very successful. We had 208 registered riders that came from greater Houston area, San Antonio, Austin, Waco, the DFW area. We even had somebody from New York that came. So the riders got to enjoy great music from the Tomfoolery Band. Reyes provided us with tacos, and we got beer donated from Carbach Brewery. It was a great event. The riders, we had some different stuff going on during the ride, but man, when we got back, all the riders were ecstatic. They all said they had a great time. They love riding up through the National Forest. They said it's one of their better rides. We had really good weather, so it was a great event. And I really want to thank Emilio because he came out and he was there at 5 o'clock in the morning and he helped us all through the day. He said he'll get on the committee next year and help us. And I think he really realizes the benefit that this event brings to Cleveland. Really gets us some good recognition. So, you want to comment?
I want a question.
I see you.
Yes. So, and just because I kind of already know the answers, but no one else does, so up here, over, I think it's 208 riders, is that right?
How many?
208?
208.
208? And out of curiosity, how many of those were from outside the city limits?
So, I don't,
A guesstimate.
yeah, really, we really didn't have any local riders this time. Usually we do have a couple, but.
And so that obviously brought a lot of outside people to our city. And I had heard from a couple of them actually that came from Houston on their choice of Mexican food, that they came into town, spent money, that kind of thing. So
They stay in
obvious,
hotels,
stay in hotels.
RV park.
Bringing down RVs.
Yep, yep. And the city does partner with us on that. They give us a donation, so that does help us.
And EDC supplied, I think we did fanny packs. We do anything else?
Yes, and y'all did fanny packs, yes.
Yep, fanny
That's
packs.
right.
Yep.
Yep.
Very successful, obviously. Next year, we probably want to be maybe a little bit more involved in that.
Yeah, we want more volunteers.
It's very well, I would say, it's our 7th year. This was our 7th year. It's very well organized. We usually are pulling it off with 5 people. We get it all prepared. Everybody knows their job. And it's really about getting riders, and getting the word out. And so when people have great events and hang out, which they do, they're having a beer or two, we have the music, they're dancing, and we're very welcoming, and people are just like, man, this is awesome. We have donuts in the morning, tacos from Whataburger, then lunch, snacks, more stuff. You don't get that when you do any kind of sporting event, really. There's not that kind of welcoming, so it's got a really good reputation. It's the final ride of a year. For most people, you're going to be putting your bike up. You're not taking it out till the spring, so it'll get too cold, too wet. So it's like kind of the end of this year when you kind of celebrate, and most people are coming out in groups. They're not just one person riding by themselves. So, it's 3 or 4 different cars coming in with 5 bikes in them. So it's a group of people that have organized to come to Cleveland and do these events, and so they love it. We love putting it on.
It's really a lot of fun.
And-
We have a
and
good time.
How many did y'all have last year?
I think we topped out at 178
Last year.
Yeah.
So 40 extra more this year. And any idea to know the impact? Yeah. Any way to all keep track of it or no?
It's a broader question.
Yeah. Out of curiosity. That I was asking if there's any way to know the economic impact.
I know Victoria sent me like a map of what areas it covered, but I mean, I kind of just covered that, so I don't think that would help any. But we advertise a pretty big ring because we get riders from Austin and, I mean, really a lot of riders from that area. Some
Yeah.
from Dallas, so.
That's awesome.
I may be able to do some reports on sales tax for that day, to show, and then the previous day and the next day, to show if there was a spike.
That'd be great.
It'd be a good idea. Yeah, I mean, because you're going to have, when you have two, in our town, in our city, you have 200 extra people here, it's going to
Yeah,
make a difference.
And if you're looking, and I wouldn't go day to day, I'd look at the Saturday before, or the Friday night before, and then that Friday night to compare.
And then Saturday and Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday and Saturday, to see.
Yeah, it won't be available until December because the data is a month behind.
Yeah, that'd be a good comparison, I would think.
And really, I think next year we need to do a better job of getting the businesses that maybe aren't just for this local that could benefit from putting stuff in the swag bags, because we didn't have that great.
Yeah. And being
Response
open,
this year.
too.
Yeah, and being open, yeah.
Not calling anybody out, but the coffee shop's not even open. It's like, you might want to get a nice coffee at the end of a ride, especially if you come in. We're taking off right at when the sun comes up, so it's right around 7 a.m. Some of those guys are you're back in by 10:30, right? So you do a short route, you're back in by 10:30. We have some really super fast guys that have done it every year, and they're doing the full lap, and they're in by 10:15. Like when we went
They don't even
out,
stop at the rest
he
stops.
was already on the return. I mean, he's like a powerhouse guy. But like having a little downtown activity going on would be nice because we're right there. People are stopping and asking us what's going on. Like local people, what's going on? Is it a festival and stuff? And I think that's always really been the goal of the chamber, is that we would be able to pair this event with something that lingered a little longer. And so that the locals come out and cheer.
Now, out of curiosity, is the coffee shop, I know what you're referring to on the coffee shop, but the Stop Coffee Shop, the one that was at our last, with the black trailer? What is it, McKenna? Oh, McKenna Langley. Yeah, Stop Coffee Shop with the black trailer.
Oh, yeah.
I bet we could talk her into going out there next year.
Because some people like foo-foo coffee, just saying.
She does the foo-foo coffee. Just ask these two. They know, that shop knows them by name. They have their order on speed dial. All they have to say is, "This is Tanya Clark." "Okay, we got you done. No problem. Got your foo-foo coffee." Just saying.
Yeah, but I mean, that's not a bad idea, I mean, set up kind of a finish line area to where people want to come down and see the finishers and have coffee and cheer as they come in. You could have little booze or stuff set up right
Yeah,
there.
vendors.
Yeah,
something.
it'd be pretty neat.
I mean, most big events, like a half marathon or even the Houston Marathon, which is huge, obviously, but, the businesses are out, the bands are on the street. It's a participation because they know the revenue it brings in. And that's, I've run up in Alaska, and like I say all the time, people are stealing our signs, just to be real honest.
Oh, my gosh. We have got to get Cold Springs
I don't know how
on
we figured
board
that
with
out,
this.
but,
Yep.
we mark everything the night before, so that's an effort for us in cars. Somebody's jumping out every half a mile to put a sign, just to slow, and it's not even for the riders, it's to slow people down. Like, hey, there's gonna be a bunch of bikes out here, let's not hit anybody. And they get stolen. And so that's a whole nother thing we have to deal with. But, most of when you're running through somebody's neighborhood or cycling, people are out like cheering you on, and being happy because they know the impact. So that's kind of a culture we need to change around here. There's nothing wrong with being a little bit of an athlete or a Saturday warriors. What some of these people, I mean, they're not super fast. This could be the one ride. I know we've had some. And I was like, that's going to be a slow person because they're in like a mountain bike and, just they're not prepared for what's out there. But, we try to make it sound like which it is. It's safe. It's marked. There's SAG vehicles up and down. There's always somebody with you. We're not leaving you out there. We have rest stops. We have manned rest stops, right? Most events, you're on your own. Like, you put in your GPS and you go about your business. And if you make it back, you make it back. I mean,
Well, maybe next year between Victoria and our awesome community development director, maybe we can make it even bigger, better, badder, all that good stuff. Mike?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know it's like, a lot of times we have big events to put a banner up on the outskirts of town.
That would be awesome to welcome
Yeah,
them.
I knew it was going on, but I'm a busy person. I forgot about it till later that day when I drove in. I seen everybody over there, so something like that just.
That's a great
to
idea.
align.
yeah,
Because, I mean, it sounds like it's a growing event.
yeah.
And it could have a very good positive impact on the community.
And we do like event social posts, and I know Victoria and I have, we kind of geo-target. And it's really about, we want you to know it's happening, but again, it's the safety of the riders out there. We don't ever want to have a horrible experience for anybody, but, we try to say, this is happening, and this is the route, and so let's just be a little friendly out there. It's one day out of the year, just slow it down.
Yep.
Does Zach, does he provide security or anything on that? Does he help with that too?
Yeah, he coordinates the
Oh,
police
good. Okay.
officers, but he hasn't been able to be at
it's his weekend for Coast Guard every year.
But yeah, he coordinates the.
Cool. Maybe we can get more involved in that for this next year. Make it bigger, badder, better. I like it. I like Mike's idea.
I can get a bike for all of y'all. We would love a motorcycle. We have asked for years to have.
Mike and I will be on motorcycles.
Well, our thought was to when the shoulder ends at the county line, to have them go behind them to keep slow the cars down. This year, we did it in my car. That was the
Mike and I could do
change.
that next year.
Y'all could be the official pace bikes for the Rock and Ride.
I will
Somebody's gotta
make
take
that
them out.
happen. Mike and I will, I'll already donate Mike's time for that. I'll even give him a motorcycle
Y'all
ride.
might just get.
Or get his run in for him.
Distracted in the woods and we'll never see y'all again. Like, this is so beautiful.
Why did y'all end up in Richards, Texas? Mike kept going. It's his fault. What else you got for us?
So I just want to tell you what else is coming up. So our next event is the luncheon on the 5th, and it's our annual Christmas lunch with the Cleveland High School Jazz Band. The culinary department caters it, so it's one of our most well-attended events, and it is a lot of fun. Then that evening is the Cocoa Crawl, which we're partnering with the city to do that. And it's presented by Xfinity, and we're going to have bingo cards, which some of this we might have talked about last time. He put up the little flyer for me. So, you're going to get a bingo card of all of the businesses that are participating, and they go and get that stamped, and then we're going to do a drawing, and EDC has sponsored our prizes for that. So we appreciate that. We think it's our first one. So hopefully it'll be a success and we can keep doing it every year and make it bigger and better every year. Then we also have already started planning our annual chamber banquet, which is January 31st. And if you haven't ever been, it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun. It's a night for us to award and honor our shining stars in the community. And this year we're celebrating 90 years for the city of Cleveland. So that's about as much planning as we've done. We got to get through one event before we start planning the next one. But we are going to have the mystery boxes again. If any of y'all have been to it, that's one of our fundraisers is we have mystery boxes that people donate items for. It has to be at least a $50 value, and you pay $50 for it. And those are usually gone before we ever even get started. So we're going to try to have more of them this year. So it's a big hit. And I want to say we're kind of looking for a presenting sponsor also, so just saying. I think our presenting sponsor is not going to do it this year.
And we did sponsor the Cocoa Crawl. We did 2,500 on it, and did I think did a prize line of 3. Is that right? 3 different tiers. Yeah, 3 different tiers is what EDC did on it. So.
And then last, I just want to thank Mike for his company rejoined our chamber, so we're excited about that.
Awesome.
So that's it. That's all we got.
Awesome. Thank you all. Very, very. Do y'all have any questions for him at all? Anybody? All good? Good stuff.
Okay. Thank y'all.
Thank you all very much. Number 4 is the reports and comments from board members. They took a whole bunch of my stuff because I was going to talk about the chamber and all that stuff, but we'll go over that in a minute. Let's start with Tanya. How about Tanya? Do you got anything for us, Tanya? No. No? You good? Chuck?
No.
You're good. Mike Buckley?
I just want to thank the city, all the officials, the workers, the police officers, fire department. They're doing a great job. And I just want to remind everybody, they're out there working hard and doing everything they can to keep us going. So I just want to give them props and say thank you.
I'm sorry, Miss Wyatt. Remember, green is off.
I second what Michael Buckley said.
Awesome. Mr. McWaters.
Yeah, I think it's unanimous. I can't say enough about our city staff, Public Works, Police Department, you know, all the departments, fire department, really just been getting some really good feedback out in the, you know, in the community. And I know y'all have had to work, Public Works has to kind of do a lot this last month, some unexpected stuff, and y'all have really performed. So thank you, Roger, and your team. But yeah, good stuff on the chamber. You know, I mean, the fact that the Rock and Rod continues to grow, I think there's definitely some future advantages there for us to team up with that. And that's all I got.
Thank you, Brent. They kind of went over a lot of mine. Was the chamber on the Rock and Ride, the Cocoa Crawl, the luncheons. The first responders luncheon was awesome. I mean, it was just really good to go to. If you haven't been to one, it was really good. They're really, really good to go to. Chuck and I really enjoyed it for sure. I will reemphasize, Roger Brooks, what Brent just said. We just can't thank y'all enough for everything we do, for everything y'all do. We get a lot of credit for the stuff that EDC does, but behind the scenes, Public Works are the ones that are doing all the labor and all the work for us. And we really do appreciate Public Works. Cody, Roger Brooks, the whole team, we really do thank y'all for making us look so good. Y'all are doing your job. I want to thank our EDC board members because all these projects that people are contributing to us that we are obviously getting done and so successful with, we can't do without our EDC board members. We have just a great board that really genuinely works together for the same end goal every single time, and that's the betterment of our community and our businesses. And so I just want to thank all the board members for all the stuff they do and put up with, and I really do appreciate that. Also, I want to thank the mayor, the city council, city manager, and obviously Emilio, our awesome community development director, for the same thing. Yeah, no, I've got that down pat now. I'm getting it there instead of just the EDC director. I'm getting there, guys. So I do want to thank all of them. Without all of us working together cohesively, you don't get things done unless we are all working together all the time. And I think that has and is what has made EDC more successful, is working together with the city, the mayor, the city council. Also, Brent and I communicate sometimes on a daily basis, but quite often over a lot of things, and it's helped a lot for sure. And I think that that's definitely what's contributed to the success that we've seen. The mayor calls it wins, that we have a lot of wins going on, and we do, and we need to be thankful for it for sure. Last month, we had the Senior Citizen Center here. That topic, one of the issues, or the issue was the stop. One of the issues was the stop from the Brazos Valley Transit. Roger Brooks has spoke to them, and they do have the stop at the Senior Citizen Center. They did say that unless somebody was standing out there, they didn't stop. If there was someone standing out there, they would stop. If they weren't standing out there, they didn't stop. We are changing that to where they're going to stop no matter what every single time, at least pull through, wait for a couple of minutes, see if anybody comes out, and they're going to go through the awning there every single time. So they're going to make it an actual stop to where no matter what, whether someone's standing out there or not standing out there, they're going to be there, period. I spoke to Willie today. Obviously, Emilio and myself and Roger have talked about this and got it worked out. Again, thank Roger Brooks for talking to the powers that be to make sure we get that done. Roger, thank you. other than that, I think that's it on my end. Any questions or anything? Everybody good? Number 5 is the director's report. Emilio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll try to breeze through this. Next slide, please. I have some committees coming up. First, coming up this Monday, November 18th at 10 a.m., our Land Use Assumptions Committee. I think there's some board members through affiliations of different boards or as a small business owner are participating in that as well, as is our chairman. Again, this is related to our ongoing efforts to craft an impact fee study. And so we'll be looking at the future land use map, trying to make revisions and updates to help us better forecast some growth and development and, contemplate market realities and how that all informs future infrastructure planning, and ultimate CIP list, and those projects associated therewith. And so that'll be on Monday. The following day, a lot of you will be attending the Community Rebranding Committee, that presentation of our Discovery and Analysis report from Destination by Design at 9:30. Both of those meetings here at City Hall. Another training opportunity for those who weren't able to attend the TEDC annual conference. There is a sales tax workshop, an in-person event held at, I believe it's the Marriott at IAH, George Bush Intercontinental on November 22nd. That's a Friday, and it's an 8 to 4 p.m. event, or workshop rather. That you have to register for that. I think there is still some space, so if you haven't registered and you want to attend, please let me know so we can get you registered on the TEDC website.
That one would be nice if we knew tonight who could make that sales tax workshop. Of course, I think our awesome treasurer, why are you ducking your head over there?
Oh, I was just making a note of the time and the date that apparently I need to be at Bush for this tax workshop meeting.
Well, thank you for volunteering.
My pleasure.
Us as the board greatly appreciates that. Don't we? We appreciate that, right? For our treasurer to do that? Well, thank you, Chuck, very much.
My pleasure.
There's also a virtual option that'll be
The virtual option's for December, though, not for November.
December, a few dates between the 2nd and the 13th. So if you can't make the 22nd, there are those options as well. I'm making a note here. And Chuck has a TEDC account, so we can do that very quickly. It looks like my slide got a little messed up, jumbled, but we're going to try something new for the monthly chambership luncheon RSVPs. There's a QR code here in front of you. I'll also send out an email with a link to access this OneNote virtual document, but essentially it's a list of the 16 spots that we do have on the tables. And so just put your name next to that seat number, your title, and if you're wanting to bring a guest, you can put their name in there as well. And then you can see for yourself in real time if there's availability or not. So again, just to help streamline and I guess provide more transparency in the luncheon attendance.
And real quick on that, I know Brent's fixing to say something too. Go ahead, Brent. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say if you've never used that before, it's real time, and so if you log in to look at the list, you can see right then who's already signed up, so you know where we are on if it's full or not. And then once you type in your name or who you're bringing, anybody else that looks at that list, that's already going to be there. So there's no calling for people or seeing who's signed up or not. It's live. It's real time. So as that list gets filled out for our attendees for these chamber luncheons, you don't have to wonder if those slots are open.
And then real quick on my end of this, this is something that we've been dealing with now for several months, that's turned into an issue. And by us not communicating with the chamber or whatever. But on our end, what we're hoping this is going to do is anybody with EDC, any of our board members, can just at free will put down there that they're going to go. And if they want to include, say, just hypothetically, if Michelle wants to bring a couple of her people that she works with from the bank, she can just put their names down in there and let's rock on with it. And then he's going to make it available, as he's probably going to explain, for the chamber to be able to see it. They won't be able to make adjustments to it, but they'll be able to see it live and see who's on there. And then at the same time, we're going to make that extra step with somebody, we haven't figured that out quite yet, that is going to get with the chamber and let them know exactly who's going to be there also. But doing it this way for right now, if we don't put our name down there, then that's going to be on us.
And if you don't feel comfortable utilizing the technology, just email myself or our staff, and we can put your name on there as well.
Yeah, email, call, whatever. Anybody can just pick up.
Text,
call Emilio, whatever, and tell them. I want us to get a little better at, on our end, from EDC's end, at covering our basis on who's going to be there without being there and having some surprises like we have had the last several months. And that, that doesn't include just our EDC board, but obviously EDC employees and everything. We want to make sure we're doing our part correctly. Mike?
Yeah, I have a question. It says at 12. Didn't they say it was going to be on the 5th?
So I reached out to the chamber to confirm this. They say because of the Cocoa Crawl and other events that they're going to push. They do it usually the second week of December, and that's the information I got from Courtney. Maybe I don't know if Carrie was confused or something. Yes, sir.
I
emailed
thought I
her.
heard her say the 5th too for the lunch.
She did. I wrote it down.
Yeah.
But I didn't catch that. That's why Mike gets paid the big bucks.
So I will say the QR code, if you don't have the app, the OneNote app installed, it brings it up in the web version. You might have to twist your phone horizontally to be able to scroll over to the right to see this table. It works much better in desktop view. So I'll send you an email, and if you're able to pull that up on a desktop or a laptop or even an iPad, it'll probably be more viewable.
But there is an app for it, too.
There is an app for it as well.
Brent was showing us the other day his app, because he uses this all the time.
Right, and whatever email
pretty
is
neat.
associated with your app, I can send you an invitation via OneNote to that email to make that easier to view in the app.
Cool.
So many options. Decide which one works best for you, but we'll provide them all to you. This is what it'll look like. Table 1 in blue, table 2 in red, and just 3 simple prompts. And we'll use the same document, same link. The highlighted luncheon date, we'll change that every month.
But this is just going to give so much more transparency and communication to the chamber that's putting on this great event every month, because if they have access to see this, they know what to plan for. There's no last-second surprises or anything like that, which we've definitely had over the last few months.
And just to note, we have actually consulted with our attorney on this, too, just to make sure it didn't constitute a quorum or anything. And so our attorney has given us the blessing on this, and all it is reservations. So we're covered there, too.
Awesome.
I have a question about this. Is this open to have a conversation about this app?
No, you can. Can you, is your mic on? Is the green means off.
It was, yes, it's on.
There you go.
So I
Thank
have
you,
a
ma'am.
question. Can you go back to the actual app, please? And maybe because I was on my phone, so I wasn't in desktop mode, but if you bring it back up, you're gonna see my name on the left side. But see how my name did not populate in the chart? See how I'm over here? So I guess my curiosity is, how does my name get on the chart? Because from my view, and this might become a struggle if we don't, maybe, because I'm not familiar with this program. So when I look at it, it tells me I can add a section or I can add a page. But it looks like I'm actually altering the document if I'm gonna add a section or a page. So we
Good
might have to
question.
tell individuals that you have to use this from a desktop.
Well, and also, just to make it clear, the only people that are gonna use this is us right here. This is
Right,
it.
but like,
No
for
one else.
instance, Heidi's not here.
Correct.
So
No,
she
you're right.
won't have that knowledge. That's why I say you might have to put like a little note saying
Turn
that
it sideways.
rotation period. Okay, great. I just didn't want to alter your document. You gave me too much power.
Is this live up here?
We might have to refresh it.
Is your chart?
Yes, this is live.
Oh, okay, because I know Tanya's name's there, but I
Yeah,
didn't
but
know
I
if your Excel chart was updated.
It was live
Oh,
There
because
it
my
is.
There you go.
name was added, but I think I created a new section in your document because I didn't realize the.
It's a, yeah, it's a
Yes, sir.
notebook.
You just type where it looks like there's a library, like little library books up at the top corner. You see this exact thing, and then once you tap that, you can enter it in, and then as soon as you refresh, it populates live. I just did that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
we can-
cool.
I know what, so yeah, these are notebooks in a library, so I can delete that.
See it on mine right now.
Right.
So if you update that one, you refresh that one, it'll
Well, I'm
show
gonna
up.
take you off my seat. You have us in the same seat.
I'm taking myself off here. Just testing.
Oh, yeah, Tanya Clark. Tanya Clark B.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank y'all for being open to it.
Good idea, Brent. Brent and I were brainstorming the other day, trying to figure out a way to help, trying to figure out a way to help,
Just take out just the 14 phone calls to make a couple of reservations, you know, I mean, it's just such a, you're chasing your tail a lot of times.
and so Brent said, hey, I got an idea. And so we're going to give this a try.
A lot for meetings and meeting topics, just exactly the same thing. We use it for just like this. We set agendas with it that everybody can contribute to, so very easy.
And like Emilio said, if anybody's not comfortable with it, they can sure just call Emilio and get on that, or text him or whatever, and get on that list that way.
While I'm up here as well, I wanted to run through and do a demo on
Yeah.
a new tool that we have on our EDC website. This is what we call our available properties viewer, our interactive mapping tool. But so if you go to the EDC homepage and you go down to the kind of bubbles here under available properties, it'll populate this interactive property viewer. And so these are, right now it's currently displaying active listings for properties, anything that's on commercial MLS type of service. And so it brings up these cards here. You can have all the details here. You can look at attachments, open up the property flyers, contacts. We have an EDC contact and we have the actual listing agent's contacts. But that's just a card view. You can actually open this up into its own window and have all the property information. Same information, all viewable on its own page. And it even has some kind of consumer analytics, psychographics for nearby businesses through Placer, which is kind of a data company for consumer psychographics. You probably have to create some kind of login to kind of view these types of things. They say it's at no cost. I don't know. They're not really affiliated with the provider of this. It's just an extra feature. But all of this to say that this is just one way that we're kind of trying to bring attention to the opportunities and, create an investment climate in Cleveland by making it really easy and approachable for people that are interested in Cleveland to, access information. There's not all the properties that we'd like on here. There's some that are clearly missing. We're going to get with our provider on this and get those properties added.
I want to say something on this. Michelle and I were just kind of laughing a little bit because we looked at something very similar to this back in 2022, and we couldn't wait to get something like this to Cleveland. We talked a lot about it at the time, and it just, for obvious anyway, that seeing this and so that it's here right now on our Cleveland EDC page. Good job.
Thank you.
That's a great.
Appreciate it.
Let me introduce y'all to Amelia Lever, our new Community Development Director.
So, yes, sir.
Is this showing just available properties for sale?
Yes. So right now it's kind of using AI and manpower of the vendor to scrape MLS sites or like they've identified a few like local brokers, Ann Vickery, what is it, Cameron, and so we built a database. So yeah, they're going to try to pull from Crexy and all these other sites, but also some of our local brokers, and then monthly they'll update that information, and we can also send properties that maybe their bot doesn't scrape, and so that way they can get it on the database. And we can also, that's all on-market stuff. We can also provide them with off-market stuff as long as we have a contact information, some information about the property, and ideally some kind of property flyer. So we'll get BNSF on there. We'll get some of our EDC property on there whenever we have more details on that. But yeah, all of those properties can be captured in this tool as well.
That's what I was going to ask. We're going to have the EDC on property, so businesses that are looking to invest in this area that they can see what we have off.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. From an administrative standpoint, this is something that was already budgeted under last year's budget, actually. For the website, I think we had $10,000 budgeted. This cost half of that, and so it's a threshold that I, as the director, can execute and approve, and so that's what we did. Trying to minimize things that can be done administratively, try to not bring those and bog down our board process and meetings with. So
Emilio earning his keep.
but have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But if you see any properties that you don't see on here, and I have a list as well, I'll be sending to our web developer. Let me know and I can pass those along.
Do what? What'd you say?
Yeah, that's even on Google Map. It's like that. Yeah, I don't know why. Wrapping up here, the director's report. As you'll recall, there was a number of tools and initiatives in the FY25 budget that were allocated for, as it relates to some kind of strategic kind of studying, or even some kind of strategic services to help augment our staffing capabilities through the work of consultants. And so I've met with, of course, the budget was approved and adopted, and I met with some EDC board leadership to kind of walk through the proposals that we solicited, kind of my assessment and rank of those proposals, and then ultimately my recommendations. And there were clear front runners that emerged through that process, And I'm happy to report that in terms of retail recruitment, we'll be working with Retail Strategies. They're really a top-notch firm when it comes to this. There's only a handful of firms that do it. There's only really one that does it well. You'll recall that the city in the past worked with the retail coach. They were approached for this kind of work, but I don't think we weren't really satisfied with the response that we were getting, and just trying to get them to, give us a proposal. So, but Retail Strategies is a spinoff from a broker developer firm. So have people that have sat on the other side of the table that know what retailers and developers are looking for, and so they'll be doing that work on our behalf. I'll be providing you all with their proposal information for all of these three firms, so you can see what the service is going to entail. It's quite robust and dynamic, so I don't want to get into those details. I'll just provide them to you tomorrow via email. But Retail Strategies will be conducting retail recruitment on our behalf. As it relates to target industry analysis, a firm called Applied Marketing will be conducting that analysis and work for us. And then as it relates to industrial recruitment and lead generation, a firm called Site Location Partners will be doing that work for us. Again, these are reputable firms, some of them recommended by my counterparts in the economic development industry. So I'm pleased to present these firms as our consultant selections for our work program. Some updates on EDC staffing. In the future, maybe as soon as December, we'd like to bring forward an item on a meeting to discuss and consider the possibility of incorporating a communications and marketing person. Not sure on position and title just yet, coordinator, specialist, but something in the vein of communications and marketing to discuss in more detail, like my position and our other position. We would like for you to consider this being a split position between the city and the EDC. We think there's good value for both organizations there. And again, this would kind of spread some of the responsibilities and increase my capacity and others' capacity if we have someone that's doing some of this kind of work for us. So just a primer there for a larger discussion. And then I wanted to share, I think prior to me starting, I think y'all had some discussions about collaborating with CISD and supporting them and their, I think it's an annual magazine. And so, biannual magazine. So we will be taking the back cover for this next installment. If you go on the next slide, I think we have the final artwork that was presented to them, just highlighting a lot of the community development work, actually, that the Cleveland EDC has done over the past months, or this past year recently. So the pavilion, the skate park, the new playground at Old City Park, just trying to, signal and kind of emphasize the Cleveland EDC and the city's work to really move the needle and on progress for the city and demonstrate that, this is a place where, we're taking quality of life seriously. So just wanted to share that artwork with you. Next slide, please. I think that concludes my report. Yep.
Can you go back to his very first slide for me? And then I'm sure all of us are going to have a couple of questions.
That slide.
Yeah, I think that was the first one. Yeah. Go to your next one. The land use. Okay, I was just curious about something on there, but I have forgot to ask you. I have a couple of members that have asked about the fencing at the pavilion. And I should have asked Roger about that, but I've had two board members ask me about. We had discussed doing fire hydrants for the fencing at the pavilion. Where are we at on that?
So in terms of inventory of existing decommissioned fire hydrants, we're pretty low. I think we only have like 2 or 3. And so the only way to decommission one is if they have the need to, replace that and install a new one. That comes with its own expense. I don't know how soon they'll be able to make some replacements to provide some decommissioned ones. We may be able to search from them from other sources, but I think the main thing with those improvements at the downtown pavilion is we wanted to see where we were going to be with expenses on some of the other projects, mainly the library shades, because I think in looking at one estimate of the 3 that we need to get, that was going to be a pretty significant cost there. So I know we allocated $100,000, and I know that sounds like it goes a long way, but I think it's going to depend on the bids that we get for the shade structures, not just the materials, but also the labor and kind of planning work that has to go with that in terms of the production of construction drawings and the like. So again, and then there's so part of that is just staff capacity to execute on some of these projects. So and not intellectual, but actual, manpower.
I believe we,
On the fence, I noticed, got a quote for somebody to do that. It's like a $6,500 quote for the fencing. So I was just, did that include the fire hydrants or is it just the labor?
I think that was just the labor, and so I think we would be supplying some of the materials with that. And like I was mentioning, we don't really have the inventory of those decommissioned fire hydrants enough to, provide that perimeter.
we will get with Roger on that and see what we can do on, he might have, I know he just left, but he might have access to some other fire hydrants. But I know that we had already planned to do that fencing, obviously, back several months ago on the pavilion, but we'll work on that.
Well, I do have one question, and to me it's a pretty important one. Where are we at on the contracts for the 787 project?
Yes, those are in development. We have an initial draft that the city attorney provided to us. I just think it's important that we kind of take into account some of the other agreements that the city has entered into and how those have not performed in the city's favor to some extent. So I think it's crucial that we take the necessary time to craft an agreement that's going to really benefit the city and the EDC. I know Tom is here and he can speak to some of that, but
Well, I think we're going to also do a consult with our attorney in executive session in a little bit. And I think that would be a good topic to bring up in there with him.
Yeah, I'm just curious because I know this thing was pretty much settled about a month and a half.
2 months ago.
It's kind of, to me, it's kind of been halted, and I'm kind of concerned because I don't really think that's the message that we really want to be sending out. We pushed to get it to happen, and now we're kind of at a standstill. And my concern is other businesses are going to see this, and it's going to cause an issue. So I'd like to get that cleared up, straightened out.
Anybody else have any other questions on anything in the director's report? No. Michelle, no. Chuck? Nope. All good? Okay, meeting minutes. Number 6 is consideration of possible action on our October 30th minutes. If we do make a motion on that, I would like the motion to probably be accepting the minutes, but with a amendment for the voting. The voting was 6-0 when it should have been 7-0, so we need to make a adjustment on our voting.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes with the alteration of changing the voting from 6 to 7.
I have a motion by Mr. Buckley and a second by, motion by Mr. McWaters and a second by Mr. Buckley to accept the minutes for October 30th, 2024 with the amendment of the votes from 6 to 7-0. Any other questions in regards to accepting the minutes? Everybody good with it? No questions? All in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Number 7 is under discussion and possible consideration on the overhaul of the facade improvement program into the business improvement program. Emilio?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As promised, this was on last month's agenda, and we got it bumped due to just kind of coming back from vacation and not having the time to really put something of substance in front of you. But I think y'all got some of the red lines that were provided in the agenda packet, or blue lines rather. This is kind of working off of the existing facade improvement plan or program, but obviously creating two different tiers. Tier 1 would be the downtown program area, and really it's incorporating an additional improvement, a grant type, which would be the code and life safety improvement category, but also it would kick up the eligible matching cost in most of those tiers, with sign being the one where it hasn't increased. But as you see on the screen here, these are conservative proposals because I think we need to take into account, yes, we can always increase these amounts, but then that kind of decreases our potential to make several grants into just kind of one or two grants. Maybe y'all see it differently, maybe you agree, I don't know, we can talk about that. But looking at facade improvement, and I'll go in different, some of the other slides to talk about the eligible improvements, but I just want to talk about the amounts here. So going to $15,000 on facade improvements, that's a $10,000 increase from kind of the current or previous program. Then on signs, kind of suggesting that we not increase that, we keep the same amount. Don't get me wrong, signs are great, they do make a great impact, but I think we want to leverage these funds to where we probably see some improvements in the actual buildings or properties, and not just a sign that can always be changed. Then looking at property improvements, $10,000, which is a $5,000 increase from the current program. And then the new category of code and life safety improvements, again, $10,000, obviously a $10,000 increase because it's not in the current program. So that would be, and I'm sorry it's hard to read on here, but that would be make total available grants under Tier 1 come up to $32,500, which is a $20,000 increase from the current program. Now, and we'll get to the map here in the next slide, but on Tier 2 would be everything outside of that downtown program area, and that would, what we're basically suggesting is to keep the current program in place. Now, the current program is applicable citywide. Previously, I suggested a different geography for that, and so if you go to the next slide, you'll see that the geography for the program, Tier 2 is the same, and then we've added Tier 1 boundaries, which is within the existing central business district. And if you go to the next slide, it's kind of a zoomed in version of that so you can see better. But I wouldn't consider all of the central business district, which is actually a zoning district, to be what I think we conventionally think of as downtown Cleveland or the downtown area. So that's the program area. I'm suggesting that we focus our tier 1 requirements and funding in. And again, this is so that we can achieve some targeted redevelopment and revitalization as opposed to broadening the scope of the program and having it applicable citywide. I think we do need to address things throughout the city, but I think, in terms of, getting all that juice out of one area, I think it's better if we target specific areas for revitalization and redevelopment by funneling some of these programs to specific areas. If you go to the next slide, this is kind of what we've better defined what an improvement is in some of these improvement types or grant type categories of eligible improvements. So for facades, what we're talking about is facade materials, repainting, windows and doors, awnings and canopies, any historical restoration to try to preserve the history and character of a significant architectural or historical gem, roof repair, gutters and downspouts. What is not eligible under facades would be burglar bars or painting or otherwise improving a newly constructed building. This program is to improve existing buildings and structures. Under signs, what's eligible? What's a new sign, renovating a sign, removing an existing sign, or incorporating lighting to signs that are not illuminated by backlighting or channel lighting. And under property improvements, again, kind of adding more definitions and scope to it, but pedestrian amenities, lighting, whether that's pedestrian or accent lighting, landscaping or parking lot or driveway improvements. And then with the new category, code and life safety improvements, public accessibility improvements, fire suppression systems, or any kind of code compliance that's required as part of the International Building Code, which when you talk about some of these downtown properties, the older they are, the more compliant they have to become with the International Building Code. So go to then, I think that's all the slides here, but we can go back to reference the map or the amounts if we need to.
And in your packet, it explains all of these also. Is the code and life safety improvement pretty normal in municipalities?
I would say so. Certainly ones that I've worked in. And again, we're extending the useful life of a building. And unfortunately, if a business doesn't survive, then at least that building is turnkey and it has a lot of improvements for the next person.
At the benefit of the owner.
Right.
What constitutes a newly constructed building age-wise?
Is Mike's mic on? His question was what constitutes the age-wise of a new construction on a building?
I think for that we would look at, is there improvements on the property or not? Otherwise, is this a new construction or is this a remodel? That's how I would look at it.
Yeah, because because what I look at when I say new construction, I think of a new building that's been, maybe 2 or 3 years old. I would say probably something 10 years and older I would figure would fall under that under the category. I think 10 years or 9 years and newer would probably, to me, would be newly constructed because you're already up to all the codes. But that's just a suggestion because that's going to kind of make people wonder, well, is my building newly constructed? You know, it's been 20 years, you know, I mean, so I think we need to have a definition on what we consider newly constructed.
Because newly constructed should meet all the codes to begin with, correct?
Right. Yeah, and that's
So
good
there-
feedback. We can incorporate that into a definition section or just define it further
Well,
in
and that's-
this ineligible section.
Yeah, because something that's within 10 years is going to be up to code. It's going to have, everything's going to be fairly new and should be good. Once you get that, past that point, that's when you start having issues with a building, you know,
Well, and
especially when they're constructed nowadays.
Yeah, and I think that the point of that is I mean, obviously, Mike and I own businesses and have done our share of buildings and building. I don't know that, obviously, new construction, should we be treating new construction like we would a remodel?
So, do you want to provide a grant for someone to build a new building? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I wouldn't think so at all. I don't
And-
think that's what we're.
Well, yeah, I think
for.
and that's what this is saying.
So,
that-
well, yeah, so the point with that is like, I think where Mike's going, and I kind of agree, is where do we define that? Is a building that's been up for a year and then turn around and wants to do a code and life safety improvement. Let me put it this way, if my building, if I'm in business for a year after I've built a building, I don't think I should be asking for a code and life improvement grant, because if I built my building correctly to begin with, in a year's time.
Well, let me provide a specific example, I guess, that comes to mind. If you can go back to the map, the first map, so I can double check. Okay, so forward. So the Huddle House is in the Tier 2 geography, which you can do facade improvement in Tier 2. You just don't get as much. And that might be treated as a whole separate, EDC project, 380 or something. But
No,
just
but
use it
I
as
think we're with you,
just
yeah.
use it as an example.
Right, no, we're with you.
That's a pretty new and viable building, but to anyone who wants to reconfigure it into a quick service restaurant, it doesn't have a drive-through. And so that's probably going to be an improvement they want to make. Maybe they want to expand the dining room. Maybe they want to do all these other things. Maybe they want to reconfigure the parking to accommodate for the drive-through lanes. So I understand what you're saying, and maybe that's just some discretion. Part of it's defining, and then part of it is discretion of when these applications come forward on whether or not you want to make a grant for whatever improvements they're proposing. But I think that's kind of an example that we can use.
So I guess my thing on that, if I was to buy that building and turn it into whatever business it is, should I, as a business owner, expect the city to fund a portion of my new building, even though it's not a new building, that new project? That's not a business that's already in business. So, and I'm not saying that, we're just talking. I just don't know that I, as a business, whether the building is new or not, and let's use the Huddle House as an example. And I know that that's just a hypothetical. I know the whole situation with the Huddle House, EDC is going to probably end up being involved with anyways. But if that wasn't the Huddle House, for example, and somebody's going to open a business there from scratch, even though the building's already in business, should EDC be funding that build out in that new business? Is my question, I guess.
My initial thought on that is no. I mean, and hear me out. And that's just, again, this is just a thought. The business owner is going to come in, say, let's take the Huddle House as an example. do we really think that this 10K is gonna make the difference if he does it or not? On something of any size? I mean, I think we absolutely have to put definitions in here as to what constitutes a new building, don't get me wrong.
Mike, give me an
I was-
opinion, Mike.
Well, like on the Huddle House, I mean, using that one as a perfect example, it's a new building that's been sitting vacant for probably 5, 6 years.
Yeah, several
Now, if
years.
somebody goes in and takes it over and changes it to something else, and they're gonna put new signage on, they're gonna paint, they're gonna do all that stuff, at that point, to me, in definition, they would qualify
Yeah.
for this grant, because even though it's a newer building, somebody's coming in, taking over it and changing it up. But my question was on the new buildings, if you're gonna do, especially on the downtown area, which, I mean, you don't have a lot of them there. If you have something that's a business that builds a brand new building and they're in business for, within 10 years, I mean, where do you draw the line at, okay, yes, we can help and we can't? I mean, that's just something that we're gonna have to sit. Because, I mean, I know from experience, especially with the way, buildings are built today, they're built a lot different than in the past. You don't see a building that's standing for 100 years that's built now. 5, 10 years, they start having a lot of issues, roof leakages, damage on the siding, all that kind of stuff. So a 10-year-old building now is gonna have issues where, 50, 60 years ago, that building's not gonna have problems for at least 20 years.
Yeah.
So there's a line there that has to be drawn where, and does it mean for everybody? Because it's kind of opened up right now to me, because I can sell my building today, somebody can come in and say, well, you know what, I want to change the face and do all that. Do they qualify for that grant? I would say yes.
Yes.
Now, if I built that building brand new and they came in and said, well, you know what, I need to change the facade, this doesn't have my look, I want to do something with it, do they qualify for that grant? Well, in that circumstance, I would say yes. Now, me as a business owner, if I just had it built and then 2 years later, I want to change some stuff around on it because I don't like the way it looks, do I qualify for that grant? Well, I would kind of say no, because you just spent X amount of dollars to build that building the way you wanted it. Now, for some reason, you want to change the color, or you want to change the sign. I don't really feel that they fall into that category. And I could be wrong. There's going to be people who say, well, no, I feel they do. But that's just kind of where we got to set the line and the definition.
Well,
and
then
it
the
may
other-
be, and it could even maybe fall into a legal thing. I don't know. That'd be maybe a good question to ask if something like that would even fall into a.
Yeah, we
legal
gotta
category.
do,
Well-
we gotta do everything we can to take the subjectivity out of it, and I agree 100%.
Well, but do we, or is this, because realistically, the way these happen, as y'all well know, is they come to us and they ask for that grant, whatever that grant is, and we choose to approve that grant or not approve that grant. So, and
Well, the thing for me right now, at this point in time, is it gonna be an issue with something like that? No. 10 years down the road.
that's
when the
exactly where I was
development
fixing to
starts
go with that.
That's where you might start seeing
Is-
an issue with some of this stuff.
It
So,
seems like we have that conversation on quite a few other things that's come up
So is
quite a
the
bit
right-
recently, is right now on this board, with this EDC board, I don't think that none of these are gonna be a real issue. I think that we're gonna be able to work out the grants. But when we're no longer here,
So do you think right now it's advisable to just remove that as a clause, the new building? Or do you think you put it in with definition? And the reason I ask is, because you can always, the good thing is by having this gives us something that now we can always amend this document.
well, and I think Mike and I, it sounds like we're saying the same thing, but I think currently, I think we're fine.
Yeah.
Currently, I think with this current board,
I agree with that.
yeah, I think we're gonna be fine. But the problem is, where I think Mike and I are going is 10 years, 5 years, whatever it is down the road, when we're no longer here, if there's no clear-cut definitions for that next current board, and they don't see eye to eye on things, and so-and-so's, not that it could happen, but so-and-so's brother-in-law or buddy or whatever,
I agree.
So the current situation, I'm not so concerned about it right this second. What's your thoughts, Emilio? What do you think here?
I think this does provide a baseline to have a conversation, and then I think, again, it provides y'all with some discretion for when these items would come up. So I, as the administrator, could say, no, that's newly constructed. What would I define as newly constructed? And if they still want to advance that, we can bring it forward with a recommendation to deny based on it being new, and y'all could say, well, we don't consider that new, and y'all could vote to approve it. And we can have that whole discussion play out, democratically.
So would it be newly constructed under the board's discretion?
Yeah.
Would that be worded, I guess?
Yeah,
Well, currently, I don't have an issue with that currently. I think my issue, or my concern on this is, I think right now that discretion and having that discretion for us to make that decision, and in the future, I guess, I think that for right now, I don't have an issue with it for right now. Does anybody have an issue with it for right now, or? I think everybody's on the same page for now, but, or at least I would think. Am I wrong? No, yeah, everybody's good with it.
okay, so here's some language I've included in the past under general provisions, administration, and notices, flexibility. The terms and conditions of this policy are a guideline for the board during their deliberation and evaluation. The city, in this case the EDC, reserves the right to modify the terms and conditions herein at any time, including for any pending application, and may approve a grant on terms and conditions contrary to the guidelines set forth in this policy. So we can include something like that in the more administrative parts of sections of this grant program to provide y'all with that cover.
And I'm sure Tommy, I'm sure that would be okay with you, I'm sure.
Good. Then I think it's fine.
I think that covers everything.
I do
I
too.
agree.
Put that in, and
Then we're
that
good.
that clears that definition up.
You agree, Michelle, you agree?
Awesome.
Tanya?
What are y'all's thoughts on the amounts?
Yeah, I was
for
gonna say,
tier-
that's the
for
next thing,
tier
is the tiers.
one,
Can you-
basically.
Can you go back to those, we have them here in front of us, but can you also go back on the screen to those tiers?
Awesome. Yes, this one.
By the way, I don't know if anybody introduced her. She is our new Deputy Assistant Secretary that's just getting thrown in the mix today.
Welcome.
Yes, welcome.
Jackie or Jacqueline?
Jacqueline? Jackie, Jacqueline, what do you go by? Doesn't matter. Jackie. We're gonna call her Jackie then.
Jackie Cleveland.
Yes, it is Jackie Cleveland, and that is actually her name. Jackie Cleveland, yes. Yeah,
You're in the right spot.
she was just, yep. And don't make her mad. She came from the prison system. So she's dealt with a lot worse than any of us. So.
I was going to say, how does Mike know her?
Yeah, how does Mike know her so well?
I do have a question on these
Amounts?
figures, the amounts.
Okay.
I know we did increase them, but in all reality, if somebody really wants to do something and take advantage of this and really improve their buildings, I do feel they're a little bit low still.
I do too.
I do too.
Yeah.
And then also the sign. I know where you're going with the sign. I've just put my fair
I think
fair share of signs up. In fact, just this last week, I pulled up to one of my stores and one of our signs was gone off the front of the store. And a big block letter LED lit sign, and I was like, what in the world happened to this sign? And lo and behold, during the hurricane, the hurricane ripped this portion of the sign off the front of the building and threw it up on top of the building. And all I could, when I went up to on top of the building and found the sign after I called my sign guy, and he said more than likely where it was at, all I could see is just how much money this is going to cost.
And let's not forget, and this is where the value comes in, and I agree with you, Mike. I think we do need to look to increase these, because now we're putting value, because again, they're on the hook for 50% if they even want to take advantage of that total amount. So making it something to where now we're talking about a real difference for not only that business owner, but the way it's going to make our city look.
And I'm definitely on the same page. I've spent, and so I'm sure Mike has too, but we spent our fair share of money on all of these.
Well, the thing is too, is they don't have to take advantage of the full amount. If
No.
they,
No,
if
not
they
at all.
spend
That's right.
$10,000, then they're entitled to 5,000.
That's exactly right.
back. But, you know, if you go to do the whole front of your building, somebody goes to do a whole front of your building, you know, if they do paint or if they do a stucco or they do a brick, it's gonna cost way more than $30,000
Oh,
to do something like that.
You can spend,
You know, depending on how big the structure is. Now that's all gonna fall into that category on cost-wise, but, you know, and then property improvements, you know, that's another thing that can start jumping through the roof. If they're going inside and they're redoing that whole building, $10,000 is not gonna
well, and just,
cover.
I think a good example on that Tier 1 downtown program area, the facade improvement, on the wording, of course, it says the grant amount shall be equal to 50% of the cost of such improvements up to a maximum of 15,000. Facade, I mean, you can, like Mike just said, I mean, you can spend 150 grand on a facade so fast it'll make your head spin. Is 15,000 going to make a difference in what they're doing? Is there? And I know we're limited on funds. We don't have the funds that say Mont Bellevue or other municipalities do, and I understand that. I think everybody on this board obviously understands it. But is there a way to increase some of these? I think is where we're going with it.
Right. There has to be a balance between incentivizing and encouraging, and then welfare, basically corporate welfare. And so I think that's kind of the balance we have to strike. And I crafted these amounts again, like I was saying in the beginning, out of consideration for trying to accomplish multiple projects in a program year or fiscal year. So
what if we what if we add? I mean, just from past conversations prior to you being here, and I know that we have a couple of new members, but I think Michelle has actually been involved in couple of these conversations also, though. And now I know that we increased the grant amount originally significantly. I think to 200,000 or so, wasn't it? Our total grant compensation. Do you remember offhand? But whatever it is, I think that everybody's going to probably be in agreement that if there's a way that we could go up on these amounts.
I think it's worth pointing out too, Mr. Chairman, that we have no historical reference here,
No.
because the old facade grants at the old amounts last year, we have two things working against us. They weren't very much money, and they weren't known around the community. So we did not have people. I think we've had three over my whole time on this board take advantage of those facade grants. So again, we're building a program here that I think we need some flexibility in it, to where, you know, we need to put some numbers on here that make sense to us. We need to, you know, I kind of look at this as a trial year, you know, to see what does this total number need to be. Does the total available grant funding need to be 50 grand? You know, does it need to be 75 grand? What does this need to look like? We don't know the audience yet.
Well, and if y'all remember, our facade grants that we did use on however many that was, it was 3 or 4 that Brent's referring to. Really, the only reason we even did those is the chamber and EDC staff advertised it, and we had businesses that knew nothing about it, and never knew that we even had one, if you remember. And by us doing that with the chamber, we obviously got it known. But that sign improvement grant that we had, if you remember, it was a very small amount compared to what you'd spend. And I guess my question for our board to move forward is, like tier 1 you can use them both, whatever, but we can take tiers, for example, if you want to individually, whatever y'all want to do it. Can we give an idea of what we would like to see for maybe Emilio to go back and see where we can get to? I think that everybody would agree that we'd like to see this increased in amounts, correct? Mike, yeah, Michelle, Brent. So, and amounts and see. Tanya, did you have some questions?
Yes, I have some surface level questions in terms of this, and Brett started opening that up. I guess for me, my question would be, if I came here and decided I wanted to open a business, how would I know about these grants? Like, where is this information being produced in a way that I can find it as a new person? Then I guess my next question is, the individuals that have utilized these grants, have we surveyed them in terms of how easy was it to apply for the grant? You know, what did they use the grant for? I mean, just trying to figure out from their point of view what that process looked like, so that way we can open this up. And then I guess my other question is, are we actually, looking at the map that Emilio presented, are we actually reaching out to these businesses that we know need help, but they don't know that the help is available? Is that our role? I don't know. So these are some of the questions that I'm having, and how are we creating, like, I don't know, town hall events or something to let individuals know that this funding is available for them?
Okay, so the first question, we several months ago, and we've
And I
still.
apologize for my lack of knowledge.
No. I can update you on all those really quickly.
Yes, sir.
On the first one, several months ago, we created a pamphlet, and then somewhere or another, Mike Buckley and myself, we wanted to create something to be able to hand to the businesses to show them what we are offering. That kind of got put by the side because we have to redo this grant program. So as soon as we get this down, what our idea essentially is to create a pamphlet or a brochure, which we are kind of, we've kind of got everything going the way we want it to go. We just got to get these numbers down. That when they come in for permits and to discuss what they're going to do, they will get one of those. They will get that packet. What did you use, Mike? You had a word for it. I don't remember the word you had for it. You don't remember either.
So that's
But-
the plan?
Yeah, no, that's the plan, is to be able to hand them a packet, essentially, that says, this is what we have to offer, and this is what we have to take advantage of your whatever situation is. How easy has it been? In my opinion, I'm not saying I'm correct, but in my opinion, it's actually been too easy in the past. Because we didn't actually have a process, kind of like what Mike is going with and Brent talked about also. We didn't really have a process in place to say, you want a facade grant, but do you own the business? Do you rent the business? How long's your lease for? What's going to keep them from using that facade grant today and be out of business next week? We didn't have anything in place for that. But we also didn't have a director in place also that when we were giving those out, that questioned all those. We had to do that kind of as a board. So we want to make it very easy and user-friendly for them to be able to get these grants, but at the same time, we want to ask the correct questions to where we're not in a position that somebody is, has a 6-month lease on a building, but they're wanting us to give them, a combination of $25,000. We want to have those questions answered. But we also want to make it very user-friendly and make it available. And the paperwork they have to fill out on this, they're going to deal with our community development department anyways. So, so they'll be able to, and they're really good at walking them through all that. Does that pretty much answer your questions, Tanya?
Yes, surface.
And did I explain that correct, basically? Yeah?
Well, one comment I have, and it comes down to the dollar amount. I know we're not trying to fund the business and to remodel, but we're trying to give them an incentive to want to redo. They may say, well, I'd like to get it done, but I really don't have the money, or I really don't want to spend that much, but here, I got 3/4 of it. I can come in, I can get 1/4 of it covered, maybe a little bit more. So it pushes them in that direction. Let me fix my building up. Let me make the improvements that I need.
And
See,
y'all got to
that's the-
remember, maximum on this is 50%. On any of these, the max that we are going is 50%. So if they go in and they spend $100,000 on a facade, the max we can go is up to 50%, but the max is going to be 15,000, as this is currently. So they're going to have to spend $30,000 minimum to get this 15, if that makes sense, because they're only getting 50%. But to Mike's point, and I agree 100% with him, that it's got to be an incentive program, in my opinion. You got to be incentivized to want to spend that money. If currently at 15,000, if you're going to really do a facade that's going to cost you 175,000, I can tell you that 15,000 is not going to make a difference in my budget.
No, that created more clarification based on what Mr. Buckley said. We're not running out advocating for this. It's available for you to incentivize you in terms of building up your business here. And I think that was where I was missing the link. How are we going about getting this information to individuals? So we're not trying to capitalize on their desire to do the work. We're trying to say, hey, if you do the work, if you put in the work,
Yes.
we will help you. We're not going to aid you. And so I think that's where I was missing during the conversation.
We want to make it available
Right,
without soliciting.
right.
But we want to make it enough to where it is a true,
It's worth it.
where it's really incentivizing.
For like a minor improvement, these numbers are really good. But to do a major overhaul or do a major deal, it's, a lot of people will be like, well, it's really, I know we can't go to the crazy numbers, but they may say, well, if I'm spending $100,000, 15 or 10 is really, I don't have time to go in and do paperwork and then do all this. That's the way a lot of people think. It's trying to justify it. Thank you. And so by increasing it a little bit, me personally, I would say probably, add an extra 5 to those numbers there, and you would probably have something there where somebody really is serious about doing something, they would be looking, well, you know what, I may try to take advantage of this. And at the end of the day, we all know what happens once you start improving your buildings, your taxes go up. So, of course, the city's gonna make it back. So it just, to me, it's more of an incentive trying to draw somebody to do it, and then by having it posted, or when they come to pull their permits, having that packet handed to them so they know there's an incentive program there to help them out. You may get more people to take advantage of it because now they have the information there where they didn't have it before, And even on the tier 2, probably increase them a little bit because, we only have a minimum amount of business downtown, but we have a ton of businesses outside that spot in the green that could really use a lot of improvements. And same thing there goes, it comes down to money. Markets change once, when everybody's doing good, people spend money. When times are hard, everybody saves every penny they got. So it's just gonna depend on the market when you start seeing people using these type of programs, you know, but on top of that, when you only have $200,000, that sounds like a lot of money, but when you start helping people out and doing these kind of incentive programs,
Goes quick.
it goes really fast, so you may be limited
We can
to
set a cap.
two, yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, but the thing is too, what'll happen is if you get two of them to come in here and only take, you know, 20,000 out of one, well, that still leaves more money to help out somewhere else down the line, or tell them, well, if you wanna really do this, you may have to wait till next year, and then we can help you out then, you know, so it's just
Well,
some food for
and-
thought and just different, you know, things that I've been thinking about.
Well, and I guess for me, it's kind of the same. I think that adding five, just my opinion, adding 5,000, I think we'd probably, I mean, if we're gonna do this, let's break it down a little bit even more. You know, your facade obviously, is gonna be one of the most important in the downtown area, obviously. The facade is gonna be, probably your most important focal piece out of that entire tier one. I think everybody would agree with that, right?
Yes.
So I would say if we could increase the facade more than the code and safety, the code and safety they're gonna have to do no matter what, obviously. It's gonna have to meet standards. And even the sign improvement, especially in the downtown area. Your property improvement, I mean, how much in the downtown area do you have to do for property improvement? In that, if you go to that map, you don't have to, I mean, everybody's seen it, but that map for the downtown area there, that covers a little bit more than, but still, going back to that last slide, Juanita,
So are you thinking, John, 10K for facade addition and 5,000 for the property improvement?
that's kind of what I was thinking. I mean, what's y'all's opinion? I was thinking maybe,
And I think we need to raise the sign improvement up too.
and the facade, I mean, what if we did 10 on it, some more on the sign, 5 on the property? What do you think, Mike? What's your
Well,
opinion?
I was just say the code and life safety improvement, that's gonna be something, if you go to, on any building, if you're under 50% remodel, you're grandfathered in on the code that was, when the building was there. So if you're doing 49% remodel, that's not even gonna comply to you. Now, if you go above that, you get to 50 or more, then you have to adapt to all the new codes and all that. So that one, I would leave it alone. I mean, I don't.
Well, and that's kind of what I was
'cause
thinking. Instead of taking
it's
5
not
on
gonna
it.
be really one that's gonna be used unless you're doing a full remodel. of the
Forward,
building.
yeah. So leave it, so if we're gonna not do the 5 on it, instead of 5,000 across the board, we could take the 5 from it and add to the 5 that we
Facade.
were gonna do on the facade. You follow me? Does that make sense to everybody? That'd be $10,000 extra to the facade. Of course, after we come up with all these numbers, it's gonna be Amelia's job to find the money.
So where are we at?
25,000 for facade. I would say 5,000 for
Sign,
15,000 for property improvement, 10,000 for code and life.
yep, that's what I would think. So 15, 5, 15, 10. I mean, wait, everybody, are they good with that? Mike, Michelle, what do y'all think? Yep.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's sort of out of my area of expertise. I was just looking at the numbers. I mean, if we did 5 across the board, that's a $35,000 increase in the pool. But the
Yeah,
way
it's
you
not
guys are breaking it
still
down,
the same
yeah,
amount.
it's still gonna be the same amount.
Yeah,
So
we're
however
we're
you
just
all
putting
wanna
it
allocate it.
towards- Yeah,
Yeah, you'll be sitting at 55,000.
Total.
Total for the tier one. So,
yeah, and we're just redoing it to where
Right.
we're getting more bang for the buck as far as the visibility of the city, of what looks the best.
Yep.
So if we could add the,
Biggest impacts.
yeah,
And I was double checking, what was adopted in the budget was 150,000.
and we could still amend that, correct? We could amend that to go up if we needed to.
That
So
leaves
let's, if we can
less
go to
funds
these,
for other things.
And then.
I
would
know
you
it makes
do-
less funds for everything, but this is also the
Property
improvement.
acquisitions.
What would
This
you
is
do?
also the improvement of our city.
What would you do on a tier 2, 10 for the facade, 2,500 for the sign, and 10 for the property improvements?
I'm good with
Would
that.
you
I'm good with
increase-
that.
Would you increase those?
Yeah,
Well,
I
do you,
think
you
we
said,
should.
how much did you
Because
say
here's the
on
thing on this tier
yeah,
two.
on
I
tier
mean,
two?
let's,
What'd you
let's,
say on sign, Mike? What'd you say just now?
I'll just say on the tier 2, just leave it where it's at for the sign.
And
then
do
add
10 and-
5 to the other, just add 10,000 total to that one.
I mean, because, yeah, I think that's prudent because, I mean,
Well,
I
could we
know
go up 2,500 on the sign to do 5?
to match, so you want the sign improvements to be the same for tier 1 and tier 2, 5,000?
And I'll set it that way.
We can't. I mean, here's my point. Let's not forget that tier 2 is
Majority
still
of the
in the
area.
2 main drags. It's Washington and Houston. So, I mean, a sign and sign improvements and these improvements, I know they're not in absolute downtown,
The top one
downtown,
we
but it's
did,
still
the top one we increased,
to 5,000.
yeah, we increased it to 5,000. We did facade to 25, sign to 5, property improvement to 15.
15, and then
So
code
on
and
this
life
tier
stayed
2, yeah, we kept code and safety the same on both. So, yeah, Mike, would be okay if we did facade at 10, sign improvement at 5, and property improvement at 10 for tier 2, Mike?
That's what I think.
Yeah. What about Chuck and Tanya? Find us. Yep, 10, 5, and 10. Can you find us some money,
Yeah.
Emilio?
Well, I mean, that's still underneath
best.
the 150K that was allocated or
Well, but the problem
budgeted.
with the 150, where Emilio's going with that, we got to remember that this is out of that 150. So in other words, I don't know which way to say this, but that 150 was total. So if someone came in and used a bunch of these
Right,
and spent the 150, it doesn't leave it for someone else.
Right.
So that 150, what I'm hoping, and I'm just saying this out loud, what I'm hoping is that Emilio can find us $100,000 and go from 150 to 250. You would leave it at,
You could still do 2 tier 1s and about 3 tier 2s.
Yeah.
and we can do an
And-
amendment, a
here.
budget amendment later.
Yeah, and the thing is, you can actually get 4 because you still have 10 grand left over on you'd be at 140 with the 2 and then the 3. So if you could still amend the extra 5 if somebody on a tier 2 came in to do that. So, I mean, it's a starting point. I mean, if you get in here and you get hit with 5 people downtown saying, hey, I want to take advantage of this and I'm going to redo this. I was going to do it anyway, but now I can recoup some of my money. Well, you know what?
Do a budget
We
amendment.
might have to look and see what we can do to accommodate. We might
Yeah, I
not
was
be able
going to
to
say,
do all
that'd be a
of them,
great
but-
thing if 5
but
businesses
yeah,
came and
it-
said, yeah, we want to,
That's huge. In
Yeah.
one calendar year, that's huge.
right.
And
that'd be actually
Emilio,
a good
I may
problem
be
there.
wrong, but correct me if I'm wrong, and I may be, but didn't we come in favorable on some of those strategy quotes? There's some money there.
I already spent it.
He says, I already spent it on something else though. I'm trying.
I made a mistake. It was 2 and 2. It was not 2 and 3. It was 2 and 2. You could add it there, you'd be at 140.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's, yeah, we just did the
yeah.
2 and 2 in
So, yeah.
mathematics over here.
Yeah, I was
But we could
pushing numbers too
still,
quick.
if we can do a budget amendment as we go, but if we could,
Make that a goal.
yeah, make that a goal or let Emilio kind of, let's go with these numbers and then let's him see if he can figure out maybe how to add that, increase that 150 to at least 200 or something. I don't know. See what we can
Sounds
figure out there. Everybody good with that?
Transfer.
Yeah, transfer some funds from. Yeah, wherever, yeah, some other things that have come in favorable, Brent says.
But I did have one other question on it. I know everybody's ready, but I did.
No,
have-
we still got executive session
Could
too,
you
so
pull,
go
could you
ahead.
pull that map up for me real quick?
Oh, I know where he's going with it.
I'm sorry, guys.
Are you
We
working on
still
the
have
map?
executive session too, so we're good.
There we go.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Now, I see we're stopping are we considering the Washington Avenue
Go to the next one.
both sides or just the one side?
So, west of,
I see where, I knew this is where he was gonna go with this. The,
that's why.
Well, and the reason why
No.
I say that is because that couple blocks right there is in line with the pink for our downtown area. That's a spot that gets seen a lot when people are in downtown, so
well, and that,
that's why I asked, because it may be, I know only the frontage is commercial,
but I
everything
think
behind it
that's-
is, is residential.
But including the Washington frontage between Hanson and Booth, I think kind of
Correct.
makes sense.
Yes.
no, it is, but, so the question though is, and you can't really see from this map, but where it says Washington itself there between, Booth and Hanson, or even where you have it between Booth and Crockett, Mike's question is, it would be to the west side of the street. Are the frontages on the west side of Washington covered in tier 1 or tier 2? And could we increase maybe the frontages down probably as far as Hanson, wouldn't you, or no?
Oh, I think that's, if you're calling that your tier 1 downtown district,
It would have to be
I
the
would-
frontages on Washington.
I would
too.
absolutely think the frontage at Washington on both sides
I would,
need to be
I would
considered.
too. I mean, it's just one of those things where,
But I don't know,
it
does it
falls
include
in.
it now?
As it's shown, no, but this map, if you recall, the southwest corner of Houston and Washington, in between Houston and Hanson, was rezoned to central business district. So, if we were trying to capture the central business district, then yeah, we can go west with that pink boundary.
Well, but I think as far west as you'd probably want to go is just the frontages, just the frontage between Booth and Hanson on Washington, the west side frontage. Obviously, the east side frontage is going to be covered,
Right.
but just the west side frontage. Is that, we're all on the same board with that? Okay.
Okay.
I want to make sure I'm saying it correctly for everybody. So if we could increase that map, like I knew when Mike said to see that map, I knew that's what he was going to do. The west side of Washington frontage only, from Booth to Hanson.
Well, because look at it like this. I mean, if we had, let's look at two businesses that are occupying both corners. Are we gonna tell Fat Floyd's that comes in here and M&D Ace Hardware that comes in here and asks for the exact same thing that one qualifies for more than the other? I don't think we should.
Not at all, no, it needs to be equal. And we did Fat Floyd's originally. We gave, yeah. So, yeah, so would that be okay with you to go, to increase, just take that pink line down to include the faces of, facing properties of Booth?
but and
To
one thing I
Hanson.
would say right now too is a really good example for this in this program right now. I've noticed that More Furniture, which is a company been here forever, they're doing some remodeling and some improvement on their property. Something like this, especially going in what they're doing, this may help them out or just give them the incentive to even come in and then, and yeah, so.
Good.
But it being on this side of the property, the incentive just dropped, drastically.
Right.
So that was just my question because to me, it's still considered part of downtown.
No, I'm good with that. Everybody good with that, increasing that? Yep. Chuck,
Yep.
Yeah.
you good with that?
All right, I'm good. I'm done with questions.
Do we need to make any motions or no?
No, it's just a discussion.
Yeah, okay. Yep, I think we're, any other questions, comments, concerns on any of the director's report? Or item 7, yeah, I'm sorry. We're past the director's report. Item 7, discussions concerning overall facade. Any other concerns or questions? Tanya? No, sir. Chuck? Nope. Mike, Michelle? It is 7:50, we're gonna just say 8 o'clock, but we are going to adjourn into executive session. You're on? Okay, nope, we're not on. We are back from executive session on the consult with the attorney, so we don't have to do time stamps or anything. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make the motion, we adjourn.
Got a motion by Mike Buckley, a second by Michelle Wyatt for adjourn. Everybody in favor of adjournment? We are adjourned.
You have a great week. Be careful.
All right, Brent, be good, buddy. Drive safely.